Welcome back to the Gentleman's Gazette. In today's video, we're going to review some of the most famous retro fragrances of the 80s and 90s. Now, prior to the 1980s, fragrances were local and few in choice. Colognes were the domain of beauty store counter clerks, high-end designers, and a few fashion houses. Men would sometimes use certain grooming products in place of cologne. Today's fragrance market is oversaturated to say the least. So we're going to take a trip back in time to the 80s and 90s and see if the fragrances from our youth hold up to today's standards. Now, the following 10 fragrances have been tested and reviewed by our team, but I haven't smelled any of them yet. So for each one, I'll give you my first impressions as well as the considered opinions of the rest of the Gentleman's Gazette team. Note that all the fragrances that we will be reviewing today are going to be shown in their full retail price. Although some can often be found at discount retailers, be aware that sometimes you can find counterfeit products by doing this. Number 1. Calvin Klein Obsession for Men. Calvin Klein Obsession for Men is one of the most characteristic and dominant fragrances of the 1980s. Even though this wasn't Klein's first fragrance, it was one of their most successful fragrances that they produced, and it helped launch Klein to be a serious contender in the market. Now, Obsession for Men was released in 1986, 1 year after the successful launch of Obsession for Women. Now, the brand itself, in its heyday in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, was known for being quite classic and minimalistic. The scent is sold as something that is clean, versatile, and suited for everyday wear. So that matches the brand image, but doesn't match the scent. Now, it's still packaged in its original packaging, a curved bottle that actually feels a little bit outdated and a bit feminine. But what can be expected from something that initially came out of the 1980s? Now, the price is $82 for 4 ounces or 118 milliliters. Now let's go over a few of the fragrance notes. Top notes include tangerine, grapefruit, lime, bergamot, lavender, cinnamon, and coriander. Heart notes include carnation, jasmine, rosewood, nutmeg, pine, myrrh, and red berries. Base notes include amber, sandalwood, vanilla, musk, patchouli, and vetiver. Now, upon smelling this for the first time, I felt that it was a very light, clean, and mature fragrance. This is definitely something that I would highly recommend that most people add to their collection. And let's move on to number 2, Dior Fahrenheit. Though not as famous as Obsession, Dior Fahrenheit was released in 1988. Dior as a fashion house has actually been producing fragrances since 1947, so they weren't new to the game when they released Fahrenheit. Now, the brand describes its fragrance as a woody floral musk and intense. Now, this sounds rather busy to us. Just from that description, we can imagine that this is going to be an acquired taste. Now, this is still packaged in the original bottle, which, while suited to the name, does make it appear to look a little bit more like a drugstore level product rather than a department store level product. And now let's go over a few of Dior Fahrenheit's fragrance notes. Top notes include lavender, mandarin orange, cedar, nutmeg flower, hawthorn, bergamot, chamomile, and lemon. Heart notes include nutmeg, honeysuckle, carnation, violet wood, sandalwood, jasmine, cedar, and lily of the valley. Base notes include leather, tonka bean, amber, vetiver, musk, and patchouli. The price is $95 for 3.4 ounces or 100 milliliters. Upon smelling this for the first time, I did find that I felt it was a tolerable scent, but not something I would probably go for. And now let's go over some of the team's thoughts. Now, one person wrote, opener lighter fluid, yuck. Hawthorn and chamomile are overdominant. Another person wrote, it's undoubtedly unique. Another wrote, it gets better, but it's highly unusual. And someone else wrote that it is so strong. Now, as far as if the team here at Gentleman's Gazette would actually wear this fragrance, overall, we see that most of us would actually prefer to not be wearing this fragrance. It's a little bit outside of everyone's wheelhouse. Now let's move on to number 3, Davidoff Cool Water. Now, Davidoff Cool Water is an icon in this era. It was actually launched in 1988. Now, even men who aren't familiar with fragrances are also going to be able to recognize the name Davidoff Cool Water due to the extensive advertising. Now, this is still seen as a very common fragrance, so if you want something that's going to smell classic but not have you stand out too much, this is a great one to consider. It's described primarily as fresh, which makes sense given the name. Now, some have claimed that this scent is actually a bit of a dupe for Creed's Green Irish Tweed, which, if true, would make the value of this amazing. Now, although they do have some similarities in their top notes, we end up disagreeing on this because of the differences they have in both their base and heart notes. Now, they really settle into being different scents over time. Now let's take a look at Davidoff Cool Water's fragrance notes. Top notes include seawater, mint, green notes, lavender, coriander, and rosemary. Heart notes include geranium, neroli, jasmine, and sandalwood. Base notes include cedarwood, musk, amber, and tobacco. Now, my first impression when smelling this was that you can never get tired of cool water. It's a clean and fairly timeless scent which will work for a lot of different personalities and age groups. This is definitely something I would recommend having in a collection. Now, the price is $75 for 4.2 ounces or 124 milliliters. Now let's take a look at what the rest of the team thought of this fragrance. Now, one person wrote it is light and fresh. They noted that there are baking spices in the background, and that it had a touch of warmth, mint, and vanilla. One person went ahead and called this a douchey scent. Another wrote that it smells like cheap mint body wash. And another wrote that it seems like big companies are knocking this fragrance off for cheap hotels and cheap body washes. Now, overall, the consensus with the team was that most people found that they would be willing to, though, at least wear this fragrance. Now let's move on to number 4, Acqua di Gio pour Homme. Now, like cool water, Acqua di Gio is an icon of this era, and it was launched in 1996. Now let's take a look at Acqua di Gio's fragrance notes. Top notes include mandarin orange, bergamot, jasmine, lime, neroli, and lemon. Heart notes include coriander, floral notes, nutmeg, sea notes, and rosemary. Base notes include white musk, cedar, oak moss, patchouli, and amber. Now, the price is $88 for 3.4 ounces or 100 milliliters. Now, my first impressions were that this was an elegant, light, and yet masculine scent. This is definitely something that I personally want to wear on occasion. And now let's take a look at what the rest of the team thought. Now, one wrote it felt very familiar to us, and another wrote it's light, inoffensive, and pleasant. Another wrote it's a crowd pleaser and quite mainstream, almost generic. Another wrote it's very wearable because it's not a big statement. And another person wrote it has an Abercrombie & Fitch lightness to it, a bit of a precursor to what many fragrance brands will actually use. Now, overall, the consensus with the team is that most of us would actually consider wearing this fragrance. However, not with Raphael. He found that it was a bit too pedestrian. And now let's move on to number 5, Issey Miyake's L'Odyssée pour Homme. Now, launched in 1994, this is described as a woody, aquatic fragrance. Now, the price is $97 for 4.2 ounces or 124 milliliters. Now let's take a look at Issey Miyake's L'Odyssée pour Homme's fragrance notes. Top notes include yuzu, bergamot, lemon, and tarragon. Heart notes include nutmeg, water lily, mignonette, cinnamon, and geranium. Base notes include tobacco, sandalwood, cedar, vetiver, musk, and amber. Now, my first impressions when smelling this was that there was a bit of a fruit and almost floral scent to it. Kind of reminded me a bit of a farmer's market. I found that this is a great scent for day wear, for casual outings, especially in the warmer months. Now let's take a look at what the rest of the team thought. One person wrote that it smelled fresh, citrus, and of mild woods. Another wrote that it had a bit of a grassy element. And another wrote they didn't really have any strong feelings for it. Now, overall, it appears that most of the team would consider wearing this fragrance. Now let's move on to number 6, Jean Paul Gaultier Le Male. Now, this fragrance launched in 1995 and was incredibly popular for well over 10 years. Now, many describe this fragrance as being a bit of a safe buy, as it is classic yet unique, as it has warm baking notes and a lot of vanilla inside. Now, the price is $94 for 4.2 ounces or 124 milliliters. Now let's take a look at Le Male's fragrance notes. Now, top notes include mint, lavender, bergamot, artemisia, and cardamom. Heart notes include cinnamon, cumin, and orange blossom. And base notes include vanilla, tonka bean, sandalwood, and cedarwood. Now let's take a look at what the rest of the team thought of this fragrance. Now, one person wrote that it had anise top notes. Now, they found that when the anise is blended with other scents, it smells quite pleasant. One person noted the vanilla and baking spices and a slight mintiness. One person noted that the bottle was very well endowed, and others noted the very dominant vanilla and how unique the fragrance actually is. When I first smelled this, I really enjoyed the spice and vanilla combination. I think that this scent will be intriguing to those who happen to smell you without overpowering everyone else's noses. Now, most of the team found that they would consider wearing this fragrance. However, not Raphael, as he found that there was a little bit too much vanilla in the finish. And now let's move on to number 7, Givenchy Gentlemen. Now, this was launched in 1994. That's priced at $89 for 3.4 ounces or 100 milliliters. Now let's take a look at Givenchy Gentlemen fragrance notes. Now, top notes include bergamot, lemon, and petitgrain. Heart notes include rosemary, iris, and vetiver, and base notes include ambroxan and musk. Now let's take a look at what the rest of the team thought. The team noted that it was an intensely masculine fragrance, and others noted the spices, aromatics, balsamics, and sandalwood notes. Now my first impression with this fragrance was, wow, this smells like success. Now initially this scent does come off a bit strong, but as long as one does not completely bathe in it, I think that it will be great for a sophisticated and mature individual. Now overall, the general consensus with most of the team was that we would actually not be fans of wearing this fragrance. Number 8, Calvin Klein CK One. Now like its predecessor Obsession, Calvin Klein CK One became an iconic and very popular fragrance upon its launch in the 1990s. Now this was actually one of the first to be introduced as a unisex fragrance. Now this really suited the brand at that time, as they constantly were featuring models, male and female, wearing the same underwear. Now let's take a look at what the rest of the team thought. Now one person noted that it was very lime forward, but not as sharp as other lime forward fragrances. In the description we're seeing pineapple and green notes as top notes, but the rest of the team was noting soft citrus rounded by other fragrances. Another person noted that it is definitely a unisex scent. Doesn't lean too far into being either too feminine or too masculine. Another person noted it is a crowd pleaser, but not too strong. Now the price is $65 for 3.4 ounces or 100 milliliters. Now let's take a look at CK One fragrance notes. Now top notes include pineapple, green notes, mandarin, orange, papaya, bergamot, cardamom, and lemon. Heart notes include nutmeg, violet, orris root, jasmine, lily of the valley, rose, and freesia. Base notes include sandalwood, amber, musk, cedar, oak moss, green tea, and green accord. Now upon smelling this for the first time, I found that I don't usually go for really strong scents, but if you give it a minute, you'll notice that some of the intensity starts to melt away and you're left with a very tolerable scent. I especially enjoy the hints of the mandarin orange and the green notes. Now overall, the Gentleman's Gazette team is finding that they would consider wearing this fragrance. Number 9, Drakkar Noir. Now this was launched in 1982. Now this was so popular it won a Fifi Award for Best Men's Fragrance in 1985. Now its heavy and masculine advertising made it a household name in the 80s and 90s. Now, it was the best-selling men's prestige scent in 1991. Now this is described as an aromatic faugere scent, and it really helped cement the trend. Now let's take a look at Drakkar Noir's fragrance notes. Now top notes include rosemary, artemisia, lavender, basil, verbena, bergamot, and lemon. Heart notes include coriander, carnation, cinnamon, juniper, and jasmine. Base notes include leather, sandalwood, fir, amber, patchouli, oak moss, vetiver, and cedar. Now let's take a look at what the rest of the team thought. Now the team found that it smelled sweet, herbal, and soft. They found that the base notes were extremely subtle and had a bit of a boudoir smell. Another person noted it smelled quite bohemian. Another noted that it is not traditionally masculine, but calling it unisex might be a bit of a stretch. And another noted it smells like a French guy made it. And the price is $65 for 3.4 ounces or 100 milliliters. Now upon smelling this for the very first time, I have to admit I was pretty surprised that I actually liked it as much as I did. Although maybe I shouldn't be too surprised, as I do have a bit of a habit of going after scents with cedar or sandalwood notes. Now although this is not my favorite or my first choice, I could see myself occasionally considering to wear this fragrance. However, it does appear that most of the team would actually prefer to not wear this scent. And last but not least, we have number 10, Eternity for Men by Calvin Klein. Now launched in 1990, this is yet again another famous fragrance from Calvin Klein. The price is $82 for 3.4 ounces or 100 milliliters. Now let's take a look at Eternity fragrance notes. Top notes include lavender, mandarin orange, bergamot, and lemon. Heart notes include coriander, lily, orange blossom, juniper berries, basil, jasmine, sage, lily of the valley, and geranium. Base notes include sandalwood, amber, musk, vetiver, and Brazilian rosewood. When I smelled this for the very first time, I really liked it. I found that it was clean, fresh, and almost reminded me a bit of a barbershop for some reason. I definitely feel like this is something that could be worn in both casual or business settings. Now out of this list today, I would say that my personal favorite is probably the Acqua di Gio. I love how clean and light that fragrance is. But I would say if I were to talk about what kind of fragrances I usually would go after, as mentioned before, I do kind of find myself really enjoying things that have woody, cedar, sandalwood notes, things that have a bit of a leather or kind of even a tobacco scent to it, mint, citrus notes in there as well too. Nothing that's too overpowering, but things with those kinds of combinations are things that I find that my nose is typically drawn to. Now today I'm wearing a cream quarter zip pullover sweater over a casual blue and white button-down long sleeve shirt, pairing that with a pair of slim fit blue trousers I picked up from Banana Republic. I like wearing these sometimes. They're really comfortable, have a little bit of stretch built inside of them as well. And then I'm pairing that with some Fort Belvedere blue and red shadow stripe socks and some white, kind of beat up, but really comfortable leather sneakers as well too from Hugo Boss.